older, so I'm just happy that we're here. You know, March 7th. I believe, did they announce that it's here? And
Yeah,
did they just say March 7th? Yeah,
Yep.
March 7th is in Las Vegas, the 9th Island, baby. It's good to be home, so I can't wait.
Yeah, you said you were down to fight Charles, but you want to kind of do it on your terms, fight in Las Vegas.
Yes,
You've had good history here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a fight that everyone wants to see. It's a really exciting fight. So for you, when you think about it, though, how does it play out between Charles and you?
I go out there, I get my.
And I know that you watched Charles Oliveira's last fight and kind of had a reaction to that. Were you streaming when you watched that actually? Or you streamed like right after, right? So you were kind of on top of that.
Yeah. My stream started right after. I mean, that's the fight I want. You know, that's the fight I want. That's the fight a lot of people want to see. We have history. A lot of there's not too much people right now that people are considering BMFs.
Right.
But on that very short list, on a very short list, Charles Oliveira is one of them. So, you telling me that I get to go out there and defend the BMF title again against a man who's very respected, who I have history with, and the first time that they talk about our fight, or he talks about it, was an injury, so and whatever. So let's go figure it out. Let's figure it out then. If you believe that the first one was because of the injury, and everybody's gonna come at me, and social media is gonna come at me after this, it's light, because at the end of the day, if you guys really did your research, nothing was ever found for an injury when he got released from the doctor. So at the end of the day, I would love that fight. He did great things. He actually was a champion at one point, and me getting another win over a top 5 guy would only be me closer to a title shot where I eventually want to be.
Alright, so listen up, because history isn't just repeating itself here. It's completely rewriting the rulebook right before our eyes. Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira are about to step into that octagon for round 2, but don't get it twisted for even a second. This isn't some feel-good nostalgia trip or a friendly reunion between old acquaintances. What we're looking at is a straight-up war between two fighters who have transformed themselves into completely different animals since they first met. Consider what's really happening here. You've got one man who became the absolute striking machine of his weight class, putting up numbers that honestly seem impossible for a human being. Then there's the other guy who molded himself into maybe the most lethal finisher we've ever witnessed in this sport. Someone who can put you to sleep faster than you can blink. So no, this goes way beyond just another rematch that looks good on paper. What's unfolding right now is two incredible legacies, forged through years of pain and dedication, coming back through time to finally settle something they never actually finished. The pressure is absolutely massive, and you can feel that intensity building with every passing day.
And that's Oliveira versus Holloway. I nearly said that's Holloway. But that's Oliveira versus Holloway, which is a sick fight. I reckon Oliveira's going to win that one.
Now here's how this whole thing came together for Max Holloway, and it's a perfect storm of timing and some serious personal business that's been burning inside him for way too long. The guy was practically climbing the walls, wanting to get back in there before the year ended, desperate to compete again. Thing is, he had to force himself to slow down and give his body the proper time it needed to heal from his last war. And that wasn't easy for someone like Max, who literally lives for these moments, but it was the right call. Once that healing process was complete and his body was back to full strength, he stepped forward with serious intent, made his presence felt in the lightweight scene, and when this opportunity landed on his table, he grabbed it without thinking twice. What an opportunity it turned out to be too. Charles Oliveira, the BMF title up for grabs, and the rematch that fight fans have been begging for since forever. Everything came together like it was meant to happen, and Max recognized this was his time to strike.
Pretty exciting. Tell us how it came about and your thoughts on fighting Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go before the end of the year, but after that last fight, we had some injuries that we had to take care of. But we're here now. At the end of the day, with everything going on, I'm just happy to throw my name in the mix. I put my name in the hat, and we got Charles. For the BMF title.
When Max discusses Charles Oliveira, he keeps it completely honest and doesn't try to sugarcoat anything. He gives full credit to Charles for his incredible list of elite wins, the championship gold he's captured, and the absolutely loaded resume he's assembled throughout his career. That admiration is authentic and well-deserved. But here's what you need to understand. Admiration doesn't equal hesitation, and it certainly doesn't equal intimidation. Max recognizes completely that Charles represents danger, the type of fighter who embodies everything that elite mixed martial arts stands for. These are exactly the moments that make Max's heart race, the battles that draw the line between the decent fighters and the legendary ones. When you examine this stylistic puzzle, you're looking at two absolute savages who don't just handle chaos, they create it and feed off it. Neither one of these warriors understands the concept of backing down when the pressure gets intense. Max has been completely upfront about his expectations once that cage door locks behind them. There's only one promise he's comfortable making, and it couldn't be simpler. This is going to explode into an authentic, all-out war that the most passionate fans absolutely cannot afford to miss. This is the type of collision people will reference for decades.
And it's Charles Oliveira, your opponent. He wanted this fight. He asked for you. He asked for you for the BMF belt. What are your thoughts on Charles's career? Because like yourself, he's been a champion. He's had an incredible fighting career, beat the best of the best. What kind of challenge does he present for you?
Amazing fighter, great fighter. I mean, just sucks that he got to run into me again.
We know his submission skills. We know that obviously he holds that record. We know absolutely everything you can do in the octagon as well, but who imposes their will? What sort of matchup are we expecting between the two of you? We know you're going to throw down, but what does it look like stylistically?
It's going to be a fun fight, you know. He's a fighter. He's your fighter's favorite fighter. I'm your fighter's favorite fighter, and that's what you're going to get, you know. A lot of fans online they're kind of heartbroken about this fight happening, you know. So at the end of the day, I get it. It is what it is. Whenever you get a Charles Oliveira, whenever you get myself fighting, you know it's going to be a fight, so.
From Charles Oliveira's perspective, this entire battle revolves around one core concept, capitalizing on every single opening that shows itself. When I say every opening, that's exactly what I mean. Charles isn't keeping anything in reserve, whether the action stays upright where he can showcase his refined striking game, or moves to the mat where he's always been a complete terror with his elite Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. His strategy is simple but devastating. Control the rhythm from the first exchange, push the action according to his preferences, and force Max to engage in the type of battle that highlights his advantages. For Charles, success doesn't come from waiting around for one magic moment. It comes from maintaining steady, crushing pressure, flowing smoothly between striking and grappling in ways that keep his opponent off balance, and most crucially, ending the fight whenever and wherever that opportunity emerges. He's not planning to let the judges decide his fate if he can avoid it. In his view, this isn't about sitting on the sidelines predicting how events will develop or hoping for Max to slip up somewhere. It's about seizing control, forcing his agenda, and ensuring the fight develops exactly according to his blueprint from the opening second to the final bell.
How'd you get your hand raised?
E como é que esse braço vai ser levantado?
Com certeza vai ser uma grande luta, né? Tudo pode acontecer. A gente tá falando sobre MMA, eu vou caçar o tempo inteiro, ou eu vou nocautear, eu vou finalizar, eu quero vencer.
For sure it's going to be a great fight. Listen, anything can happen. It's MMA. I'm going to be hunting all the time. May not knock him out, maybe finish him, but I'm going to for sure.
Charles Oliveira makes no attempt to conceal his admiration for Max Holloway. That admiration is real, and he's been clear about expressing it. However, at the exact same time, he's making one point absolutely undeniable to everyone within earshot. Their original encounter, that first meeting from years back, didn't showcase the complete version of what he brings to the table, not even remotely close. Physical problems were limiting him during that time period, restricting his preparation, impacting his output, and stopping him from becoming the fighter he always knew lived inside him. Now, at last, completely healthy, and in the peak condition of his entire career, he's genuinely thrilled and anxious to demonstrate for everyone what actually occurs when he's operating at maximum capacity inside that cage. For Charles, this second meeting isn't just another bout to stack on his record, or another contract to fulfill. This runs much deeper, something that gets under his skin. It's a long overdue opportunity to address lingering questions that have been bothering him, and beyond that, it's a chance to deliver for the supporters the complete war they've been patiently anticipating. He understands what's riding on this. He grasps what this represents for his standing in the sport, and he's prepared to demonstrate that the Charles Oliveira who appears this time around is an entirely different creature.
O Max Holloway diz que tem um interesse, é uma luta que seria uma revanche para você, né? E que você realmente gostaria de ter essa revanche?
Sim, na realidade é um cara que eu respeito demais. Na minha última luta com ele, todo mundo sabe, eu tive uma lesão, ele fala que não, mas eu tive uma lesão.
Meanwhile, Max Holloway has his focus locked on something far more significant than just this single encounter. Let me make something clear right now. The BMF Championship is impressive, it carries weight, and it resonates with the audience. However, for Max, it's not the finish line or the dream he's chasing. It's validation, concrete proof that he's still competing for the biggest opportunities in this business, that he still deserves a seat at the table with the absolute best. He's already experienced what it feels like to rule from the summit during his featherweight championship run, and now that he's established himself in a different weight class, that drive, that intense need to wear championship gold, has returned even stronger and more laser-focused than it was before. Max truly believes that his physical tools have finally matched his mental ambitions. He's more powerful than he's ever been, faster, more well-rounded as a complete martial artist, and he's certain that this current incarnation of himself deserves to be fighting for titles without any debate. More than anything else, what truly fires up Max and gets his blood flowing is being part of this discussion again. Being involved in the madness and thrill of championship-level competition with a definite, clearly marked objective sitting directly in front of him, that undisputed lightweight belt. Charles Oliveira, he's not the final boss. He's a lethal, extremely talented, completely unavoidable obstacle on the journey to that ultimate championship.
The goal never changes, bro. You know, ever since I got in the UFC from my first fight to now, you know, I want the undisputed belt. That's all I want, you know. And you know, I had it for a little bit in another weight class. Now we're in a different weight class. I feel good. I feel strong. I feel fast. I feel great, man. I feel really great. And I'm just excited to have my name in the pot, you know, and I get to take one step closer to that goal. We're getting my hand raised on March 7th.
And speaking of Charles Oliveira, he's aiming directly for the absolute peak of his division, and he's making it completely obvious to anyone who's watching that his upcoming bout isn't just another appointment on his calendar. This represents a real opportunity at ultimate acknowledgement in this game, whether that acknowledgement arrives as the BMF Championship that carries tremendous respect among the fan base, or the official divisional title that confirms you're the best fighter alive. Regardless of which one, Charles views this as his defining moment. Beyond all that importance, a clash with Max Holloway isn't something he's approaching casually or treating as just another step towards something bigger down the road. This might actually be the perfect ending to his remarkable career, the ideal way to walk away as a champion. For Charles, every aspect of this battle represents massive stakes and incredible drama, exactly the type of spotlight and expectations that reveal the true character of championship-level fighters. This is the ultimate platform to solidify his place in history once and for all, to validate everything he's achieved and demonstrate he deserves mention among the greatest competitors ever before, possibly walking away from the sport that shaped his entire existence. The significance of that possibility isn't something he's ignoring, and you can see from his approach to this fight that he fully comprehends what's hanging in the balance.
Big on setting goals. At one point it was fighting Islam Makhachev again, then it was becoming UFC lightweight champion, now it's fighting home in Brazil. Once we get past Saturday, what's the next big goal for Charles Oliveira?
BMF, uma luta importante, porque eu creio que essas são as lutas que vão me levar ao título.
For sure, just winning this fight and fighting for a title, whether it's a BMF or a title of the division. These are great things that will, and this is a great fight that will propel me towards the title.
BMF fight sounds sick. How high would you rate the idea of fighting Max Holloway? Because I feel like that's one that the fans would go crazy for.
Acho que todos gostariam de ver essa luta. Por que não seria minha próxima luta?
I think a lot of people, everyone would love to see this fight. I want this to be my last fight.
Let me tell you something, this fight announcement has thrown the entire lightweight division into complete chaos. The consequences are enormous. If Ilia Topuria chooses to step up and face Islam Makhachev for that lightweight crown, Justin Gaethje sees a wide open opportunity leading straight to the BMF championship. And believe me, he's absolutely prepared to make his case for that gold. For Justin, this goes beyond simply collecting hardware or adding more silverware to his trophy case. It's about something more meaningful. It's about entering that octagon against either Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, two living legends of this sport, and demonstrating beyond any reasonable doubt that he belongs in the marquee fights that supporters are getting excited about and demanding to witness. The buzz is off the charts. The energy is growing and supporters across the globe are losing their minds over what might happen next. But here's what we can't overlook. We need to survive this Holloway versus Oliveira war first before any of those future scenarios can play out. That BMF championship isn't just some publicity stunt or corporate creation. It's the ultimate declaration in mixed martial arts, a badge that announces you're ready to face anyone anywhere under any circumstances. And Justin Gaethje, he's completely committed to claiming that title as his own, to establish himself as the most dangerous fighter walking the earth.
Hey, with Ilia Topuria, right, because we'd love to see you unify the belt with Ilia Topuria if things go to plan at UFC 324, but do you believe that Topuria hangs around the division? Are you hoping you get a chance to unify the belt against him, or do you think he might be going up to do this whole Islam thing potentially? Who knows, maybe at the White House or something?
I guess I don't really have an opinion. I mean, if he went up, I would just be the champion, which I would, you know, I'm not going to complain about, but I think what that leaves open is the chance for me to get a rematch against Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, get my belt and get the BMF belt. And ultimately, that was the script I've been speaking into existence since the Fiziev fight. I thought I was going to fight Ilia in January, and then I was going to fight Max or whoever had the Max or Oliver. Now they're fighting, but before it was just Max. I was going to fight Max in the White House card and then have both those belts.
Additionally, Jorge Masvidal has shared his thoughts on this developing situation, and his viewpoint is really interesting because he's been directly involved in the BMF discussion since day one. Jorge has tremendous respect for Max Holloway, describing him as one of the sport's absolute elite, a competitor who delivers constant pressure and ferocity every single time he enters that octagon. That respect is completely authentic. But here's where Jorge gets a bit animated. He actually finds it hilarious that some people believe the BMF championship was nothing more than a publicity stunt, or some promotional gimmick without genuine significance. From his perspective, anyone competing for that title is world class, no exceptions. These aren't second-tier fighters seeking attention, these are assassins. Jorge emphasizes that whether it would have been him or Nate Diaz meeting Max in a theoretical battle, it wouldn't have been an easy evening for any participant. For Jorge, the attraction of these contests is entirely about the stylistic puzzle itself, the clash of styles that creates must-watch entertainment, the examination of striking ability and courage and determination, and the opportunity for a competitor to show they can control the action and truly represent what the BMF tradition stands for. From his viewpoint, and he's absolutely correct about this, this is precisely the type of contest that supporters crave. These represent high stakes, constant action, zero dull moments, just two gladiators giving everything they possess inside that cage. That's what the BMF title is meant to symbolize, and that's exactly what we're receiving.
Max Holloway said this on his YouTube channel. The BMF belt to me personally represents just a bad mother effer. You know, blessed man forever. Only very few get the fight for this belt. The belt was a laughingstock before. All of a sudden I got it and everyone wants to fight for it now. It's hilarious. It's fun to me. What do you make of that? Him saying that it was a laughingstock before, because not many people held that belt. You were the one that put it on the map.
I mean, I love Max as a fighter. If that's his opinion, that's his opinion. You know, I think he's one of the best fighters to do it. He's a dog when he goes in there. But whether it had been me or Nate fighting Max, it wasn't gonna be like his best night either, I think, you know. So I don't think how in laughingstock in what way, because the skill level is obviously there, you know. I mean, I would love to fight Max just on a stylistic matchup. I think
Now, whereas the MMA guru is completely fired up about this Oliveira versus Holloway battle, and I'm telling you, he's describing it as an incredibly thrilling fight from a pure athletic perspective. But here's where things get complicated. He's completely unimpressed with how the UFC managed the announcement and presentation. He believes the empty chair concept they used for the reveal had tremendous potential to become something truly special and unforgettable. But from his perspective, they totally botched the delivery by previewing it with highlight packages before the actual announcement was made. That early previewing revealed far too much for casual viewers who could have been completely shocked by a surprise reveal. Small details are irritating him as well, like the missing nameplate cards on the seats during the announcement, which just appears careless and amateur for a company as massive as the UFC. While he's obviously excited and pumped for the actual contest itself, because how could anyone not be with these two icons? He doesn't hesitate at all to criticize the UFC leadership for what he considers sloppy, uninspired promotion work. He believes they could have made this announcement so much more impactful and memorable with just slightly better planning and imagination. However, and he admits this completely, regardless of how they presented it or how many errors they made in the marketing, he knows beyond question that the fight itself is going to produce absolute magic inside that octagon. The competition will prove everything.
And that's Holloway. That's Oliveira versus Holloway. I nearly said that's Holloway. But that's Oliveira versus Holloway, which is a sick fight. I reckon Oliveira is going to win that one.
Even with all those promotional frustrations and presentation criticism, Chael Sonnen jumps in with his analysis on why this contest matters, beyond just the buzz and spectacle. And Chael being Chael, he points out something vital that many casual observers might have overlooked. Charles Oliveira didn't simply challenge Max Holloway for an entertaining fight or a lucrative payday. He specifically requested for the championship to be at stake, and that detail is completely fundamental in understanding the business side of mixed martial arts. You see, in this industry, you can arrange a major fight between two household names, but that doesn't automatically guarantee a title gets included. Chael references Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal as an ideal illustration of this concept. You had personal animosity, a huge Las Vegas headliner that generated massive pay-per-view numbers, but no championship was involved. It was purely a personal grudge. For an experienced veteran like Charles Oliveira, who knows how this industry operates from top to bottom, making it explicitly obvious that the BMF championship had to be included wasn't just intelligent business. It was completely necessary to ensure this fight carries the importance and meaning it merits. And with Max confirming that absolutely the title is definitely at stake, there's no confusion or uncertainty remaining. This fight is for honor, for legacy, for that BMF acknowledgement that proves you're ready to battle anyone.
Oliveira versus Max, guys, I think we're at that point, right? Like, I think we can come out and announce this. Now, I'm assuming that you know, Charles Oliveira, when he gets done on Saturday, he calls out Max and he asks him to put up the belt. By the way, which is an important distinction to make. Colby Covington fought George Masvidal. It was personal. It was Vegas. It was main event. George was champion. We, Team Colby, assumed it was for the belt. We win the fight. We don't get the belt. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. It is important for a smart veteran like Charles to make the distinction and call for the belt. It's important when Max responds that we're all clear.
That is definitely for the championship. Sonnen takes his analysis even deeper, highlighting something really fascinating about the psychology of this contest. Typically in the overwhelming majority of championship fights or title contests, champions are the ones being pursued, being targeted, being hunted. They're not the ones doing the pursuing. That's simply how the power structure usually functions in combat sports. But here we have Charles Oliveira, a former lightweight champion with incredible credentials, actively seeking this fight and demanding it to happen. That role reversal makes this matchup even more compelling from a narrative standpoint. Chael discusses his extensive personal history with Max Holloway, explaining how he's followed Max since very early in his UFC journey, back when he was simply a talented prospect attempting to establish his reputation. Chael compliments Max not just as an elite championship-level fighter with remarkable abilities, but as a truly decent person away from the cage. Respectful, modest, someone who carries himself well as a representative of the sport. Having observed Charles Oliveira develop over the years as well, Chael mentions that he's equally outstanding as both a competitor and a human being, which makes the competitive tension between these two all the more interesting and captivating. You've got two widely respected, incredibly skilled athletes, both celebrated throughout the MMA world for their integrity and class, and yet somehow there's this underlying edge between them, this unresolved history that generates real competitive fire. It's that blend of professional respect and competitive hunger that makes this fight so irresistible.
Champions get called out. They don't do the calling. Now that makes me very curious. What's up with these two guys? I've known Max for his entire career. In fact, fought on a card with Max, and it was either his debut or it was his second ever fight. So when I tell you I knew him, that's the day I met him. So when I tell you I knew him his entire UFC career, this is a literal statement. He's awesome. I think you guys know that. I mean, he's a wonderful guy, is my point. They're not all. You get disappointed plenty of times. Max is a wonderful guy. But you guys know that. I'm just getting to know Charles on a personal level. He came over here, did an interview that we brought to you. He's a wonderful guy. They're not all. So when you have two baby faces, when you have two good guys, two wonderful guys. When are you going to call a guy wonderful, by the way? I don't know if I've ever done. You got two wonderful guys. Why do they not get along? What is their problem with each other? What really happened between these two? And that has not come out. And there is an answer to that. Now,
expanding on Chael Sonnen's comprehensive analysis, Ariel Helwani contributes his own perspective to the discussion, and he mentions something that even Dustin Poirier supports. The widespread agreement among competitors and journalists is that Oliveira versus Holloway for the BMF championship is an absolutely explosive matchup that supporters should be ecstatic about. But Ariel also highlights a really intriguing trend that's developed with Ilia Topuria, and this is something worth examining closely. It appears like every single competitor who shares the cage with Ilia, regardless of their previous standing or accomplishments, emerges more focused and driven in their immediately following contest. Whether it's Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, or even Josh Emmett, their showings after encountering Ilia seem to improve in a measurable way. Perhaps it's the intensity of preparation needed to face someone like Topuria. Perhaps it's the educational value of facing such a well-rounded fighter. Or perhaps there's simply something about that test that brings out the best in everyone involved. Whatever the explanation, it's a captivating observation that only increases the intrigue surrounding this collision between Charles and Max. It emphasizes the talent level, the importance at stake, and the technical brilliance that supporters can anticipate when these two champions finally meet. And then Bedtime MMA analyzes the fight with a personal angle that many supporters can definitely understand. He starts by admitting something I think we all experience. He doesn't want to see either man suffer defeat in this contest because both are so appealing and have delivered so many amazing performances. But if he absolutely had to select someone, if you forced his hand and made him decide, he's leaning toward Max Holloway securing the win. He explains his logic, celebrating Max as a versatile, innovative striker with output and accuracy that few can equal, while also recognizing that Max has seriously overlooked grappling skills that don't receive enough discussion. People don't remember Max has reliable takedown defense and capable enough floor skills to escape threatening situations. Regarding Charles Oliveira, Bedtime MMA observes that Charles has modified his approach somewhat lately, reducing some of the raw finishing power he used to hunt for, and instead relying more heavily on offensive wrestling and grappling to dictate fights. From studying his recent battles against fighters like Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush, and Ilia Topuria, it's obvious that Oliveira is adjusting and changing his tactics to stay competitive at the elite level. But that transformation, that change in philosophy, could potentially provide Max the advantage he needs in this specific stylistic puzzle. He extends his analysis with even greater depth, observing that Charles Oliveira's striking ability, while still threatening, hasn't produced the same finishing impact recently that it delivered during his championship reign. Whether that's because of meeting different stylistic challenges, opponents who are more skilled at avoiding his power strikes, or Charles deliberately prioritizing protecting himself and initiating grappling exchanges quickly rather than remaining upright and trading shots, it's a clear adjustment. Still, and this is crucial to stress, Charles remains incredibly dangerous in every area of combat. He's developed solid leg kick defense that stops opponents from breaking him down, and he still carries that heavy right cross that could connect with Max at precisely the wrong time and alter the complete direction of the fight in an instant. Bedtime MMA pictures multiple moments of pure mayhem throughout this contest, possibly a potential knockdown that brings the audience to their feet, a close submission sequence that has everyone frozen in suspense, and both fighters moving with grins across their faces because they're performing what they love at the absolute highest level. But in the end, when he really considers how this unfolds across 25 minutes, he envisions Max Holloway claiming the fight by decision in what will be a nerve-wracking, competitive, explosive battle that honestly could swing either direction. It's the type of fight that may be determined by just one round on the official scorecards. So what's your take on this showdown? Is this simply a stepping stone for both competitors on their path to something greater? Or is this truly a career-defining fight that will be remembered as one of the most incredible wars in lightweight division history? And more crucially, who do you predict leaving that cage victorious, Max Holloway with his endless striking and constant forward pressure, or Charles Oliveira with his submission mastery and constantly improving game? Share your predictions in the comments section, because I really want to know what you're thinking about this unbelievable matchup. And if you haven't already subscribed, smash that subscribe button immediately, because we have tons more incredible fight breakdowns and analysis heading your way.